Making homemade bagels is one of the most gratifying baking projects I can think of. It does take some time, but it doesn't take a whole lot of effort, and it's really, really fun. I love to make bagels on the weekend, and because it takes a couple days and it only takes a little bit of effort here and there, it almost just kind of sets the tone for the whole weekend for me. It's like no matter what else I'm doing that weekend, if I'm out and about, meeting some friends, doing housework, whatever, I've always got this bagel project that's just kind of ticking away in the background, and it feels really cozy and relaxing to me to have that on the go. So I wanted to show you how I made these bagels this weekend. Well, not really putting much time or effort into it, but coming out with this really satisfying end result. It all started on Saturday morning when I woke up and took my sourdough starter out of the fridge and fed it. I tend to bake 2 loaves of bread on the weekend, and then I put the starter back in the fridge and just let it sit there and wait for me till the following weekend. So I took it out, fed it with pretty much equal parts of water and flour. I do like my starter to be on the thicker side. This was a little bit thin. I think it could have been a bit thicker. But then I just cover it loosely with the lid and let it sit all day long until it gets really nice and bubbly. Saturday came and went. I did some chores around the house, cleaned up my patio, met up with some friends for some drinks. And then when I came back on Saturday night, the starter was really nice and bubbly. So I made the dough. And to make the dough, all you have to do is put the starter and some water, as well as some honey, some salt, and the flour, of course, in a mixer. This recipe says to add the flour gradually, and I do find that that helps quite a bit because the dough does get really, really stiff, and so it kind of helps to add the flour gradually. Once the flour is finally incorporated, you can just cover the dough with a lid or some plastic wrap or whatever, and then go to bed. It needs about 8 to 12 hours at this point, so I find it's perfect to do it right before bed, and then when I wake up the next day, it's ready to go. Sunday morning, I woke up fairly early, got my coffee with Bailey's because it's December now, and I have a bit of a coffee and Bailey's tradition all through December. And then I proceeded to divide the dough into 10 equal pieces. This recipe says to divide in 8, but 10 was better for me in this situation because I wanted to feed a lot of people. And I just kind of prefer the size when they're a little bit smaller. You can just eyeball this or you can use a scale. I kind of did a combo. And then once you've got your equal dough portions, some people say to roll the dough into a ball and then just poke a hole in the middle, but I prefer to roll it into a bit of a snake and then connect the ends and then roll to kind of like mush the dough together. That just feels better for me. And I'm not at all worried about them looking perfect. I love like Montreal style bagels here in Canada. They always look pretty wild and none of them are uniform, and I love that look. And once you've got them all shaped like bagels, just lay them out on a baking sheet that's lined with something. Cover them up. I just use plastic wrap here. And let them sit for, the recipe says 1 to 4 hours. I think I let these sit for about 1.5 hours, and they definitely could have used a little bit more time proofing at this point. But I was in a bit of a hurry, so I rushed it. Once the bagels are nice and puffy, it's time to boil them. So I just put about 3 liters of water into this giant pot and added 2 tablespoons of sugar, just regular white sugar, and 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and then boiled them one by one. And I had this handy little like fish lifter thing that works perfectly to kind of flip them and fish them out. So just drop them in, let them cook for 1 minute on the first side and then another minute on the second side, and then fish them out. And I boiled them in 2 batches because that was what this pot could accommodate, but you can do them in smaller batches if you don't have a pot this big. And then you can use whatever you want to top them. You don't have to top them with anything. I love sesame seeds on bagels. I also love poppy seeds or everything bagel seasoning. I just kind of do whatever I have. And if you want a really thick crust of sesame seeds, you can actually just sprinkle the sesame seeds out on a plate and then dip the whole bagel in there. But I just sprinkled them on top. And then once they're all boiled, they just go into the oven at 425 for about 20 minutes. And they get so nice and glossy and golden brown, and they get even puffier in the oven. And these ones turned out so good. I was so happy with them. And I brought them to my friend's house for a little bit of a brunch party. I didn't end up staying because I have a mild case of the sniffles, but I just dropped them off, and apparently everybody loved them, and I had a few messages afterwards asking me for the recipe. That's it for this video. I just wanted to show you how fun and easy it is to incorporate what might seem like a little bit of an intimidating baking project into your weekend. It can be really quite gratifying and it impresses the heck out of your friends. So thanks for joining me for this one, and I'll see you soon.
Special delivery. Whoa.